let's crochet a mushroom. Or 3. So if you were here last time, mushrooms flying everywhere. We had a viewer vote on which tutorial pattern I was doing next, and the mushroom lace applique patch won, so in a minute we'll get right on to that. This pattern is from the book Lacework to Emmy Grande, which I bought a PDF copy of on Etsy. I do want to acknowledge that I paid money for the book, or I think it's an issue of a magazine maybe, that this pattern is in, but I believe and hope that I'm not taking customers from them, because the book is in Japanese and I'm trying to aim for people who speak English, and it seems like it's maybe an issue of a popular magazine called Shufu-to-Seikatsusha. So I'm not completely sure if it's still in print, but in any case, I do encourage you to buy the book if you would like to, and I'll have all the info about that in the description box, and also at the end I'll give some more info about that, including an English language book, which may not be this exact book, but it's full of similar patterns, so you'd have that as an option too. So let's get right to the pattern. Okay, it's time to talk about our materials. For this project, we will need yarn. You can use one color or a bunch of colors. I'm using 3 colors so that I can show you the different parts of the project a bit more easily. You'll need a crochet hook. I'm using a 5.0, and this hook is from PJB Boutique on Etsy. I'll link their shop down below. The yarn that I'm using is a 4-weight worsted, and I'm pretty sure all of it is Caron SimplySoft. Obviously the red is because it still has the label on it, but I'm 95% sure that the white and black also are Caron's SimplySoft. I wanted to use this yarn for the example because I want to see how a softer yarn lays with the applique. One word of warning though, if you are using Caron SimplySoft, it is not very great for projects where you have a bunch of ends to weave in, because they will come unwoven. I know from personal experience. So I've heard that something you can do to help with that is like put a small bit of fabric glue on the yarn ends. So that is one solution. And for this project, I am using stitch markers, by which I mean my case of metallic rainbow paper clips. And you don't have to use them, but I strongly recommend it for the parts where we're joining the different circular spots inside the mushroom head to each other. That can be really tricky if you don't have some way of marking which spot goes where. And of course we will need our scissors, and you can also use a yarn needle to weave in the ends. I usually just weave them in with a crochet hook, but I wanted to be pretty complete in my materials list. The stitch abbreviations that I'm using, I'll probably be saying the full thing when I'm talking to you, but I will have the abbreviations on the screen. So I'm using US terms: CH for chain, SC for single crochet, DC for double crochet, and SL space ST for slip stitch. So for the examples, this one is so big that I can't really get all of it on my phone's camera with the way it's set up right now. But this one is in worsted weight yarn, medium 4 weight, and I used a 5.0 millimeter hook, which is the same one I'm using for the example that I'll be showing you. And all of these 3 colors of purple yarn are Red Heart, and they are Amethyst, Lavender, and Pale Plum, and I believe that's Amethyst for the darker one, Lavender for the middle purple, and then Pale Plum for the pale one. My second example, I wanted to see how small we could go, because with worsted weight the mushroom is extremely big. If you wanted to make it a patch or something, you might want to use smaller yarns. So I used crochet thread, and this is a little bit difficult to work with, but it came out really cute and delicate. I'll bring it closer. And it is more of a applique patch size, I think. Here's my goat for scale. Oh, he's he's really big. So he's a typical Beanie Baby size. His name is Banros, but he looks really big in the camera, so I'll put him back on his little perch over there. So the yarn I used for this was crochet thread. I don't know if there's a specific brand, but it's those skeins that you get in they're wrapped around a cardboard tube, kind of like toilet paper. Here's the pink that I used. So the cardboard tube is in there, and I'm not sure if the colorways have names. I just used black and hot pink because I happen to have them on hand. And the hook I used was 2.38, so it was a very small hook. I tried using 1.75, but that was a little bit too small, even for this yarn. Oddly enough, I think this one took longer than the bigger one because this small thread is just really time consuming to work with. But I do love the result. And I love the way it lays too. It doesn't have the more stiff and roughly quality of the big one. That's one reason why I want to see how it lays in the Caron SimplySoft. So to start with, I'm going to show you my heavily annotated chart or screenshot of the chart from the book. As you will have seen, I have numbered each of these circles, which are each done individually. You do attach the outside loops to each other. Speaking of the outside loops, I also labeled each of them 1 to 12, so I'll be using that numbering when I tell you which ones to attach. That will be round 3 of these circle things, which I've been calling spots. So each round 3 is of each spot is a little bit different. So first I'm going to show you round 1 and 2, then I'll probably time skip or speed things up to just show you the round 3 of each spot. Thought I would make these spots white on my next mushroom. Full disclosure, I'm not completely sure what the star in the middle of each spot motif means. It could be an extra stitch, it could be a magic loop type situation, but I think that I see 6 chains done in a circle, so that's what we're going to do first. So next we insert our hook into the 6th chain from the hook, and not counting the one that's on your hook, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've made 6 chains, and now we do a slip stitch into that last chain, or, well, the first one that you made. And then this is round 1. We chain 1, and we put our hook through the middle of the circle and make a single crochet in this space. I'm also crocheting around this tail so that I can just snip it off at the end, and that's one less end to have to worry about. Make a second single crochet, and by the way, you'll be making 12 of these, 12 single crochets around the circle of chains. If you start to run out of room on your circle before you hit 12, then just push them along, like bunch them up a bit. Since they're not crocheted into any of the chains, you can just scooch them around. At least you usually can, but this one is, this yarn is making it more difficult, but I think I have enough space. Let's see, where did I stop? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 2 more. 11, 12. And then we go into the first single crochet that we made. Not the chain stitch, mind you, the actual single crochet, and we slip stitch. I find it helpful to check afterward that we have 12 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I didn't count this one. I think this loop and this one kind of just count as the same stitch because this is the slip stitch and this is the first single crochet, so they're just kind of mutually one stitch. they're where the next round starts. So speaking of the next round, we chain 5, and this counts as our first double crochet plus chain 2, which is what we're doing around the rest of the circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we double crochet and we skip this one because it has this first chain coming out of it, so that counts as a double crochet that is worked into this stitch, the first one, and we double crochet in the next single crochet. Then we chain 2, double crochet in the next one, chain 2, and we keep doing that around all 12, and I will be counting to make sure that I have 12 spokes of the wheel that I'm making. It's sometimes hard for me to talk and crochet at the same time, so I will see you in a minute. Before I close this off, I want to make sure that I have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because this first chain counts as the first one. Then we slip stitch into the space. Oh, look at that. Do you see what I did? I forgot the chain 2 here. Don't worry that making mistakes means you aren't a skillful crocheter. I consider myself pretty good, and I skip stitches by accident all the time, so yeah. Now I have all my properly spaced spokes, and for round 3, chain 1, and then single crochet in the same chain 5 space, and then we're going to chain 5 and single crochet into the next double crochet. My yarn trying to get tangled up. Okay, so this is what I'm calling spot 1. It's in the lower left corner of the mushroom, and it is the simplest one because there's nothing for it to for the loops to attach to yet, so you just do the motif as if it were standing alone. So you continue chaining 5 and then single crocheting into the next double crochet all around the circle. Now let's count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which is this chain 5 chain that I'm about to attach. So there's no double crochet for me to attach to here, although this counts as the first double crochet, but we do have a single crochet right here, so we're just going to slip stitch into that. And then we cut the yarn because that is the end of spot 1. Now for the next ones, I'm going to come back and film when I get to round 3, and I will show you how to attach each of them. But for right now, I'm going to make rounds 1 and 2 of spot 2. We are at the stage where we're joining the loops we're about to make on spot 2 to some of the loops on spot 1. I think it would be easiest to color match the ones that are going to be joined. We haven't made the loops that I'm joining on this one, but I think I'll go ahead and put stitch markers in the chain 2 spaces, just so I know when I'm going over that stitch marker, this is the time to join a loop. Let me put these on one sec. So we're back. If we number these loops, then in the order that I made them, this is loop 10 and loop 11, because we went around this way. And since we're coming around this way, these will be loops 4 and 5. And spot 2 is in the middle bottom of the mushroom head, so it'll just be like that. And then spot 3 will be here, and so on. So I've done my slip stitch to join row 2. I need to chain 1 and single crochet, then chain 5, single crochet into the double crochet. This will be the same as spot 1 until we get to the stitch markers. Single crochet, loop 3, and now we have loop 4, which is over a stitch marker, so I have to join it up with this one, which is loop 11. I had to untangle my yarn. Hate when that happens. So next we're chaining 2, and then we have to pick up spot 1 and slip stitch into this chain 5 space, which is loop 11. Make sure I have the yarn on the right spot. This slip stitch is in place of the third chain. We have those connected. You could slip stitch directly into the third chain in this space, but I haven't had any trouble just doing it in the chain 5 space itself. Now the joining of the 2 loops via slip stitch may give kind of a textured effect, or may twist the loops in interesting ways, but I don't think that's a big problem. Honestly, my major concern is just making sure that I have the right loops, because even for me this is still kind of tricky. But in any case, after that we chain 2 more, and then we single crochet and then next double crochet, and that counts as our chain 5 loop, the 4th loop on spot 2. And we're doing the same thing again for loop 5 over the pink paper clip slash stitch marker. So chain 2, then we slip stitch into this one. To be honest, this is the first time I've been using stitch markers with this. I didn't for the other 2, and it is so much easier, so please do use it. Stitch markers will save you a lot of confusion. So after we slip stitch into this loop, we chain 2 more, single crochet into this next double crochet so that the stitch marker is covered by the loop. And then we just continue around like we did before with chaining 5 and then single crochet. Okay, good. I have 12 loops, counting this one, and we finish off the round by slip stitching into this first single crochet. And cut the yarn. Now I'm going to repeat round 1 and 2 for spot 3, which will be over here, and I will turn the video back on when I have the stitch markers in place, because it really is the same thing except you're doing it over here. I'm back with spot 3 and the, not safety pins, paper clips. I always get them mixed up. Anyway, the paper clips are in the correct spots, the correct spaces. That could get confusing because I'm calling these spots. And here they are in spot 2. So once again, we're making 3 regular loops of chain 5, and then we slip stitch in place of the 3rd chain into these ones. So to start round 3, we chain 1, single crochet in the chain 5 space, chain 5, single crochet in the double crochet, chain 5, single crochet. So there we have 2 loops and we need 1 more. 3rd loop, and now we have our tricky bits. So chain 2, pick up spot 2, and slip stitch into the chain 5 space. Then we chain 2 and single crochet in the double crochet. That's the blue paper clip taken care of. Now we chain 2. This is why the paper clips are so useful, because for a minute I lost the correct loop. I kind of got turned around, so, but here it is. We slip stitch into it, and then chain 2, and then single crochet into this next double crochet, and now the pink paper clip is ensconced, and then we continue making normal loops around the rest of the circle. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and of course we slip stitch into this first chain and cut the yarn. We have spots 1, 2, and 3, and it's hard for me to get them all on the camera at the same time, but spots 4 and 5 are going to be here, so it creates a pyramid kind of going up that way. And spot 4 is similar, except we join 4 of the loops in 4 unoccupied loops of spots 1 and 2. Then we do the same thing with spot 5, except we join it to spot 4 in 2 places, spot 2 in 2 places, and spot 3 in 2 places. So that one's the most complicated, but it's kind of fun. In a minute, I will see you with round 3 of spot 4. Okay, now our spot is looking very colorful. Oh, my stitch markers are getting stuck. Anyway, I only have one green paper clip, so we're pretending that this one is also green, but this shows where the loops will connect: pink to pink, blue to blue, purple to purple, and green to other green. Anyway, so we start round 3 by chaining 1, single crochet in the chain 5 space, then we chain 5, single crochet in the next double crochet, and we keep doing that until we get to this first stitch marker. Okay, we've gotten to this first pink stitch marker, which is loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is loop 6 of spot 4. We're attaching it to loop 1 of spot 1. So we chain 2, pick up our 3 joined spots, we stick our hook into the chain 5 space, slip stitch, and chain 2, and single crochet into the next double crochet so that the pink stitch marker is covered by the loop we just made. Now let's do that again for the blue stitch markers. Oops. Chain 2. It's this loop. And I know it's not the other blue stitch marker because that's way down here. So we just go to the next one. So we're not ever really skipping a bunch of loops on the same spot. So we slip stitch into this one, chain 2, we're going over this stitch marker into this double crochet and making a single crochet. Now 2 more to go, chain 2. Now let's find the purple one, which is on, it's not on spot 1 anymore, we're working into spot 2. Slip stitch into that chain 5 space, chain 2, and single crochet. Last one, chain 2, slip stitch into the other blue one, chain 2, single crochet into this double crochet. Now we can continue making chain 5 loops until we get to the end of the round. Slip stitch into this last single crochet, or the first one rather. Let me just check that I have 12 loops. Yep, okay, now we cut the yarn. So this is what we're starting to have. And you can see where the last spot will be right here. So let me make that and I will meet you back here for the last round of spot 5. So we're back for spot 5. Since I have a limited number of colors of paper clips, I decided to just do the buy pride flag twice. So that's cool. Shout out to all you buys. I'm gay myself, but I identified as bi once and still very much care about that community. So on to round 3 of our last spot. Chain 1, single crochet into the same chain 5 space, chain 5, single crochet into this next double crochet. And I'm not sure if I said before, but as you can see, we have 6 places where we're going to be attaching this final spot, or this final iteration of this motif. It attaches 2 places on each of the other, well, 3 of the other spots, not the first one because that's all the way over here, but it's like on 3 sides. So let's see, we were on loop 2. Yep, now we have 2 loops. We make our 3rd loop in the same way. So 5 chains and single crochet into the double crochet. And now we have our first tricky bit, which is what I call the attaching loops. So we attach it to the other one on the top row first, spot 4, and I find it easiest to just hold these up, as you might have seen me doing. Put the yarn over here, the right side, and it would help if we chained 2 first. Slip stitch into this chain 5 space, chain 2. Here's my first blue stitch marker, and so I go over it and single crochet into this double crochet. That's our first of the 6 attached loops. So chain 2 more. Now we find our first purple. So this blue is now on an attached loop, so the one right next to it is the one that we want. The open loop right here. And by open I mean there's nothing attached to it yet. Slip stitch into the chain 5 space, chain 2, go over the stitch marker, single crochet into the double crochet, and now it's hard to see, but spots 4 and 5 are fully attached to each other now. So we chain 2. Now we're on a pink stitch marker. See, there's a little corner here where these 2 spots are joined, and these loops are what I'm calling occupied because they're attached to each other. So this is the open loop, which conveniently has our pink stitch marker in it. It looks kind of gold in this light, but it is pink. So we slip stitch in here, then chain 2. We find our pink stitch marker of the spot that we're working on. It took me a few tries to say that. Then chain 2, single crochet into this double crochet, and we have 3 more attached loops. So I will walk you through them, but I might go a little bit more quickly, and feel free to pause the video if you need to. So chain 2, here's the next blue, slip stitch, chain 2, single crochet into this double crochet. Now loops spots 5 and whatever number this one is are fully attached. Chain 2, we move to our next spot. There we are, with the matching purple stitch marker. Slip stitch, chain 2, come back to this one, single crochet, chain 2. This is the last one the last loop that we're attaching on this set of motifs anyway. There's one more, but it's a bit different and not as complicated, I think, so that's good news for all of us, honestly. Slip stitch into this chain 5 space, chain 2, single crochet into this double crochet, and the last loop is now fully attached to all the places it needs to attach to until we do the rest of the mushroom. Like there's a top bit right here and there's a border around, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Right now we're chaining 5 and single crocheting into the double crochet a couple more times. Looks like 3 more times, and then we will end this row, this round. Let's see, do we have 12? Well, I know the stitch markers represent 6, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 12. So then we slip stitch into this single crochet and cut the yarn. And that's our currently heavily ornamented bunch of round motifs, which make up the majority of the mushroom head. And in just a minute, you will see the next steps of the mushroom. But I'm not sure if you could tell, but I am pretty tired and my voice is about to give out, I think. So for tonight, I will sign off, but in a couple of minutes on a different day, a couple of minutes for you, a different day for me, I will walk you through the rest of the pattern. So look forward to that.